Hello, friends. I hope you're out wandering through nature, exploring the natural world around you. Do you enjoy writing about your wanderings? Nature journaling is an awesome, fun way to remember all the adventures you have taken and how you felt during those journeys. If you're looking for some beautiful journals to keep track of all your wanderings, I have several available on Amazon, including some guided journals for children. Start your journey in journaling by clicking on the link in the show notes. Keep exploring the nature around you and keep journaling all your wanderings. Hello, fellow wanderers, and welcome to the Nature Wanderer podcast, the podcast where, of course, we slow down, step outside, and take in the beauty of the natural world, one adventure at a time. I'm Paul, your guide on this meandering journey through the forest today as we seek out birds. I'm going to be stopping every once in a while to look for some birds, listen for them as we discover the great backyard bird count. Welcome. Hello, friends. Welcome back to another episode, and today I am at the Erie County Forestry. We've had some thawing and then freezing again, then thawing, and so the trail here, you probably can hear it's a little crunchy, a little bit icy, so I'm going to be taking it a little bit slow. I'm actually going to go off the trail a little bit too, because the trail, I'm on a hill right now, is like a sheet of ice. One of these days I'll buy myself some crampons. I'm going to do that sometime soon. But anyhow, I am here doing a little bit of birding today, seeing if I can find any birds out here. It's a little bit late in the day, early afternoon, which is not the best time to go birding, but it depends on the day. Some days I actually see more birds in the afternoon than I do in the early morning, but the best time to go birding is early morning. And I'm not here just to talk about birds or going out and birding, but I want to do a PSA here, I guess. A public service announcement about an event that's coming up this weekend, one that I participate in every single year. I've been participating, I don't even know how many years. It's been at least 10, 15, maybe even 20 years, but I've been participating for a long time. Ever since I heard about it, it's like, oh, that sounds like a great idea. You probably know I'm into citizen science. I've explained what citizen science is before, where you, basically the everyday person like you and I, we can go out and explore nature and do counts and do studies and help scientists to see what's going on out there. I mean, scientists can't be everywhere, so they depend on collecting data from a variety of sources, including, hey, you and I. So this is a citizen science project. It's similar to what I just did recently, the Christmas bird count, but this is a little less, I shouldn't say a little less organized, but a little less strict maybe. I mean, there's no circle with the Christmas bird count, if you recall. Oh, just saw a bird fly by. Hard to hear though. I'm going to record him on my Merlin app. I mean my eBird app. I'm going to record him on my eBird app. Okay, hard to hear the birds. I'm hearing a crow in the distance. With the crunching snow, it's really hard to hear them, but anyhow, with the Christmas bird count, you had a special area that you could count in. With the great backyard bird count, it's a little bit different because you can pretty much count birds anywhere, right in your own backyard. So So what is this great backyard bird count all about? Well, the great backyard bird count happens every year in February. It takes up 4 days. It's a Friday through a Monday, and this year it's the 14th of February through the 17th. So this Friday, if you're listening to this on Thursday when it was released, this episode, then it's tomorrow. Yeah, it starts tomorrow, it goes till Monday. So the Great Backyard Bird Count, the GBBC as we call it, it's for an entire weekend, Friday through Monday. Now you're probably thinking right there, it's like, well, I'm not going to spend 4 days counting birds. I've got stuff to do this weekend. You don't count them every single day. I mean, Friday's Valentine's Day. Go out and spend time with your loved one. But basically, let me run through the steps for doing the GBBC, just so that you don't panic, don't fear it. First of all, pick a place to go birding. I know it's called the Great Backyard, but it doesn't have to be right in your backyard. It can be in your neighborhood, maybe a local park, maybe in a forestry like I'm in right now. I'm in the Erie County Forestry, and you can come here and do it. You can go to a state park. You can go to a national park. You can go down anywhere. Anywhere you want. That's the really cool thing about the Great Backyard Bird Count. You can sit in your house, grab a chair and just sit there and watch the birds out your window. So you don't have to go someplace. You can do it right in your own backyard. You probably heard me slip there. Yeah, this trail is slick. You can do it in your own backyard. You can do it wherever. Okay, so that's the first step, is figure out where you're going to go birding. And it can be more than one place too. I'll get to that in a second. But the second step is decide when to bird. Now, it has to be between the 14th and the 17th. I don't care if you get up at 12:01 a.m. in the morning and you bird all day long, or you get up at 3 in the afternoon, or I shouldn't say get up. Hopefully you're not sleeping in that late, but get out and enjoy nature. Get up early. But maybe you are busy all morning. Can't get out and bird till 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's fine. So decide when you want to go out. Now you have to do it for at least 15 minutes. So make sure you have at least 15 minutes of time. Does that mean you can only do it for 15 minutes? No, that's the minimum. So 15 minutes or longer. So maybe you want to go out birding for a half an hour, maybe 3 hours. Okay, it's going to get a little crunchy here. There's a fairly steep hill, and I don't feel like sliding down the hill, so I'm going to walk to the side of the trail where the snow is a little bit less slick. Anyhow, you can, bird as long as you want, or as little time as you want, as long as it's a minimum of 15 minutes. Now, you have to do it at least one time. You can do it more than one time. I mean, you can do it once every day, all 4 days. Maybe you're busy on Saturday. You can do it Friday, Sunday, Monday. You can do it Saturday, Monday. That's it. So any of the 4 days. Now, I had someone ask me once, well, what if I am busy in the middle of Saturday, and that's the only day I'm free to do it? But I can do it Saturday morning, I can do it Saturday evening. Can I only do it once that day? No. You can do it twice. You can do it 3 times. Okay, so you have to do it at least 15 minutes each time. So you can do 15 minutes in the morning, half an hour in the afternoon, 45 minutes in the early evening before you go to bed and the sun's still up and just setting. Hey, if you want to go out owling, that's cool too. So as long as you're doing it for 15 minutes each time, minimum. You can do longer, like I said. Okay, so that's the second rule, is when. Oh. Got some crows calling. I have a cardinal that just went flying past up the trail here. So I'm doing more watching today than listening, because usually this late in the day you're not hearing the birds as much as you're seeing them. But the crows, they're always calling all day long. The blue jays will too. So lots of activity so far. It's kind of surprising me. I didn't expect to see much, but anyhow, so those are the two things to do: when and where. And then the next step, go out there and count. Okay, just count the birds. See how many you can find. Maybe there's, 3 crows I just heard. Now, I'm not doing gotta stop a second. Heard the crows, but yeah, I'm hearing a raven too. Yep, a little more guttural. Okay, so we got some crows, we got a raven. So count them, see how many you find, and record it. Now, there's a couple ways to do this. You can just do a checklist. They actually have a checklist you can download from the website, which I'll talk about in a minute. I'll leave a link in the show notes to their website too. But you can download a checklist, or maybe you have one of your own, and just take that out, or just a piece of paper, and write down what birds you're hearing. Or you can record it on your phone. What I do, the easiest way, is I record them on eBird. If you don't have the app yet, download it. It's an awesome app. I really love it. But you record the birds on eBird, and then after you record them, it's already submitted. You have to do nothing else. So if you're not familiar with eBird, on the website for the Great Backyard Bird Count, you just go there, and they actually have a great tutorial on how to use eBird and Merlin. Maybe you're like, well, I can't count the birds. I'm no good at identifying birds. I heard that in the background on the episode here, but I didn't know that was a crow. Hopefully you know a crow, but that's all right if you don't. It's not a big deal. Not everyone knows birds by ear. They don't know their calls. I said, there's a raven. Maybe you would have thought it was a crow. A lot of people don't know the difference between a raven and a crow call. There's a big difference, trust me. But anyhow, not a big deal. Get Merlin. Okay, it's another app you can download. I actually did an episode on nature apps, and I included Merlin, and I included the eBird. So you might want to go back and listen to one of those episodes. But anyhow, get the Merlin app too. Merlin is fantastic. It usually picks up birds that I miss too. Maybe I was listening to another bird and it picked up a bird that was behind me. So it listens for the birds and it can identify them by call. So that's Merlin, and it'll help you, and you can submit your list right through Merlin as well. And if you do that, once again, any list on eBird or Merlin that's submitted during that weekend, during this coming weekend, the 14th through the 17th, any list that's submitted is recorded as part of the Great Backyard Bird Count. So makes it so easy. But maybe you don't like all these apps. Maybe you don't want to add another app to your smartphone. I keep getting the data warning on my phone. It's not because I have a lot of apps. I don't like a lot of apps, but it's mostly because I got so many pictures on my phone. But if you really don't like apps, a lot of apps on the phone, I mean, trust me, you download eBird and Merlin, you're probably going to use them a lot if you're really into birds. I do. So anyhow, download those and go through the instructions if you've never used them before. Easiest way. But maybe you don't want to, and that's fine too. All you have to do is go on the computer to the GBBC website, which is at, steep hill here, birdcount.org. Bird count is all one word. birdcount.org. So you go there, that's the website for the Great Backyard Bird Count, and all the information is there on how to submit your data. So you can just keep track of the birds you're hearing on paper and submit it through there. It's that easy. Yeah, that easy. And you may wonder, well, why do I want to do this? Spend my weekend counting. Oh, it's fun. Yeah, that's one of the main reasons I do it. The main reason that I do it is I'm a science guy. Yeah. I know the scientists can't be out there. They use this data. They get a lot of data from a lot of people. That's going to help them out to figure out where the birds are, how the populations are doing. They have used a lot of the Christmas bird count, the Great Backyard Bird Count data to actually study different patterns in birds, where their territories are moving to. Is climate change affecting how far north they're going? Or other factors starting to affect the bird populations? What's going on out there with the birds? So all of these things matter. And I'm a science guy, so I'm more than happy to submit all that data that I have to the scientists that they can use it. And you do it on eBird, you can also see what trends are out there, what birds are doing, what birds are in your area. So you can also look at the data yourself. You don't have to just, hey, here, scientists have it all. No, you can look at it too, see what's going on around you in your neighborhood. Hey, maybe you'll see some cool birds. Yeah, maybe there's a really awesome rare sighting in your neighborhood somewhere. I always like to see those. Or maybe you're looking for a specific bird, add to your life list, and you're wondering, well, where could I go to see one? Just look on eBird. You'll find it. So, anyhow, that's all there is really to it. Just go out at least one time this coming weekend, either on Friday, Saturday, Sunday, or Monday. If you want to do more, that's even more awesome. More data. Yeah, more data to do. More fun. But yeah, go out there and do it as often as you can. Submit your data. If you go to a different place, consider it a new checklist. You don't have to just go to the same place all weekend. If you want to just sit in your house and stare out at your bird feeders out your back window in your backyard or your front yard, that's fine too. Do that every day. But if you'd like to get out and enjoy a nice hike through the woods, hey, that's what I like to do. So get out there and start counting the birds. Okay, so I did mention that I would, which I already think I did, I'd give you the website for the Great Backyard Bird Count. It's birdcount.org, birdcount.org. And I will put in the show notes, definitely will have it in the show notes for you so that you don't have to remember it. So look in the show notes and it'll be there. And another thing I encourage you to do is to invite friends. I know I'm always saying that with the podcast. It's always more fun in numbers with groups. I know, I'm a bit of a loner at times. I like to be alone. I'm out here right now hiking alone in the woods, which is one of those things I always tell people not to do. But I let my wife know where I'm going. And I always do that when I come to the forestry because there's very little reception in here with the phone. There's an emergency, you're going to have to crawl to a spot where you get like a half a bar. But anyhow, it's always fun to do things with company. I enjoy doing hikes with other people and birding especially. It's always fun to do it in a group because I don't always hear everything. Unfortunately, I lost a lot of the hearing in my left ear ever since I was a kid. I've had problems with my left ear. And so I'm consider myself like half deaf. But that is not fun if you're out birding. I'm constantly cupping my ears with my hand. That always helps you to hear the birds better. Hear what's out there better. I'm walking by a stream. If you hear the water running, here, I'll stop. Yeah, it's a beautiful stream today. I always love a stream in winter. when it's flowing through the snow and you've got the little islands of snow and ice out there. So yeah, it's just absolutely beautiful. The sun is finally out. We've had so many days of clouds lately. Need that vitamin D. Yeah, so anyway, back to what I was talking about, the great backyard bird count. I keep getting sidetracked here. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is, what about the birds? How to find them? Where are they? Okay, the best time to find the birds, if you're doing the great backyard bird count, or if you're just enjoying looking at the birds, watching the birds, the best way to find them is to, well, look for them. No, go out early morning. Yeah, that's when they're most active. Right after the sun comes up. Right at dawn. I always look at sunrise and find out when that is if I'm going out birding, because I want to be up with the sun, because that's when the birds are most active. That's when they're out looking for food, getting all the food they need for the day. And then after that, then they just kind of hang out in the woods, in the cover, usually avoiding the extreme temperatures. And that's mostly summer. That's why in the winter time you'll see more of them during the day, because it doesn't get hot during the day. And that also depends on where you live. Look at eBird, see where people are seeing the birds, what locations, and what times. Talk to birding clubs if you want to know. So, I always know my area. But if I go out on a vacation out west or something, maybe down south, it's like, it may be a little bit different. You may see different birds, different times of the day. I always try to do my bird banding early morning. I always open my nets sunrise. Sometimes I open the nets in the afternoon, because I'm getting birds in the afternoon at my feeder. All depends on the day, depends on the weather, depends on what's going on with the birds. They will be out at different times of the day, but you're more likely in the winter time to see them out during the day, in the afternoon. I'm just right now scanning the trees, which is the other trick. Don't look down. Stop once in a while. When I'm doing the great backyard bird count, today is just a casual count. I mostly want to just get out and hike. I've seen deer tracks here following the trail. But if I'm doing the great backyard bird count or any bird count, I will stop now and then and just sit there and watch, look, listen, look for any movement. You see movement, try to figure out where it was, where it is. Get your binoculars out. Binoculars are great to use if you're out hiking. If you're just sitting at your back window watching the birds at your feeder, that's easier. But if you're out in the woods like I am now, well then it makes it a little more difficult, because they're further away usually. They can hear the crunching snow. They know you're coming. They're not going to stick around. There are some spots. I was looking at some posts on social media the other day from one of the hiking groups that I am part of on social media. I'm not a member of them, but I watch the posts, and there's some people who are feeding the chickadees right out of their hand. So there's some places around western New York here, some of the more visited parks, where the chickadees have gotten so used to people, they're basically tame. They will just come right up to you. You put some seed in your hand, hold it out, stand still, they'll come right up there. I don't advise that. Okay, I don't advise it. It's a cool experience. I've done it myself. I did it with the gray jays up in Algonquin Provincial Park in Canada. I did with the gray jays, because they're pretty tame up there. Very intelligent birds too. But around here, I try to avoid it. I try to avoid it with most birds. It's just, I feel like you're almost like taming the birds if you do that. So that's why I don't recommend it. But do it once, maybe a couple of times. Just get the experience. It's pretty cool. Sorry about the crunching a little bit. off trail here. I want to get down to the creek and see how shallow it is, because I'd like to cross it and get to the other side and take that trail back. But I don't know if that's shallow enough for me to get across. But okay, so where to go birding? Time of day and all. Best time, in my opinion, is early morning, like I said. But maybe you can't get out in the early morning. That's fine. You know, go as early in the day as possible. If you can't do that, go out anytime. You know, whenever you have the chance to. Oh yeah, the creek's shallow enough. I think I'll cross here. Head up the other trail. Hopefully it's more level and it won't be as icy. And hopefully I don't fall into the creek. Got a little bit of an ice bridge here to cross. That'll make life a little bit easier. As long as it's heavy enough. Okay, friends, sorry about the edit there, the pause. I was crossing the creek and I got across as a little bit of a ice bridge. And right near the edge, had to go up a small cliff there and stuck my foot into the snow and it slid right down and went right through the ice and into the water. And it's only maybe 6 inches deep. I've got my winter boots on, and so they're fairly waterproof. So not a big deal, but I had to get my balance and try to climb up the bank. And that was no easy feat. And by the time I got up, the snow's a little bit deep, and so I had a lot of crunching, panting a little bit, and I hate when I'm breathing heavy in a podcast. I apologize when I do that. But so now I'm on one of the snowmobile trails that goes through the park here. It's actually one of their logging roads. They do allow snowmobiling here. This is a multi-use park, forestry. So snowmobiling, cross-country skiing, I've seen a cross-country ski trail, or marks I should say, along here. Geocaching, orienteering, hiking, jogging, runners are in here. They have horseback trails. So yeah, it's multi-use here. And I'm coming up to the small lumber mill, the old lumber mill. Some of the old machinery is still in it. The new lumber mill is across the road. This one here is now used just for storage. But anyhow, back to getting sidetracked again. I apologize. You know me, yeah. It's funny because I'm here. I'm going on another rant. Just gonna have to put up with it. I had to laugh because I took on a 2-week sub-position, science, had to do it, it's science, middle school science, and these are 6th graders who, they don't know me yet, you know, they're just learning who I am, and because this is their first year in the middle school there, and I haven't been subbing much in the middle school, but anyhow, they've learned already that, yeah, just ask Mr. Furniture a question, he'll go off on some rant for half the period, and then we don't have to do as much work. So I'm trying to get out of that habit of doing that. So the thing we were talking about before I got sidetracked here was how to find the birds. You know, the best way to do birding. And like I said, I like to stop every once in a while when I'm along the trail just to listen. Just be nice and quiet and listen, especially in the winter when the snow is so crunchy. You don't hear much. And I have my hat on plus my hood because it's a little chilly. It's in the mid-20s. But it's almost nice with my hood on because then I allow my ears to be out of my hat and the hood almost acts like a funnel. So if I turn my body in all directions, it's drawing the sound into my ears. So that's kind of cool with the hood. It acts like an amplifier. But you can go out, stop and listen every once in a while. Make sure you're watching. I mean, I am the type of hiker where I tend to trip on things quite a bit, and the only reason is I'm mostly watching up. Yeah, I'm looking up into the trees, I'm looking around. When I go hiking with my wife, she's trying to get out of this habit. She's the type where she watches the ground the whole time. She misses so much, but she doesn't trip as much as I do. So there's the give and a take. I mean, I'm always looking around, and I look down every once in a while, make sure I've got good peripheral vision, which is a bonus because I can actually see the trail while I'm looking around, but I do miss some roots now and then. So look around, look for movement. You see some movement, that's when you stop, get your binoculars out. And I do that once in a while anyhow, as I get my binoculars out and scan. Looking at trees. Yeah, they're going to be in the bushes, the birds will be in the trees. If there's a feeder around, great. If you go by a field, you know, look through the field, especially in the wintertime, you might find some snow buntings in the field. So lots of ways to see the birds. But early morning, that's the best time to go birding. Sunny day, yeah, they love that too. I mean, today it's cold, like I said, mid-20s, but the sun is out. So some of the birds are out there in the open just to absorb some of that heat from the sun, stay warm. Look for brushy areas. If you have a lot of bushes, a lot of brush, trees with lots of branches, pine trees, you know, all places where the birds can hide and get away from danger. Those are great places to find the birds. Maybe you want to put some seed out. You know, if you're doing it in your own backyard, make sure you have feeders out. Yeah, if you don't have feeders, go get some. It's a great hobby. Can be a little pricey. I mean, bird seed is not cheap. But, I mean, you don't have to get the most expensive bird seed. You get a good mixed seed, you know, put that in your feeders, you're going to attract the birds. Go out and get some suet in the wintertime. I feed a lot of different foods. So if you're doing it in your backyard, get different feeders, set them up. In my backyard, I've got a suet feeder. During the summer, I put out a hummingbird feeder. During the winter, I don't, so the hummingbirds aren't around and the water in the feeder is going to freeze. But suet feeder, I do black oil. Sometimes I'll do a thistle feed. I have a peanut feeder out to get the woodpeckers and some of the nut-eating birds, like nuthatches. So a variety of different feeds, a variety of different feeders, you know, that'll attract more birds. Also make sure you have some sort of cover for them, some way to get away from danger. I had a hawk in my yard the other day, and it was exciting to me. It was a red-tailed hawk, and you probably have been listening to, hopefully you've been listening to my recent episodes. You know that over the summer I moved into suburbia. Yeah, a little development, and so I've got neighbors all around me. I'm so used to the country, the open land, you know, open space, and now I have people around me, so I don't expect as much nature, but I have been finding I'm getting just as much nature as I used to. And the other day I was yelling at a squirrel who kept coming up to my feeders because the snow was getting piled up a little bit around my feeders. And so I was yelling at the squirrel because he's starting to realize that he can get up closer to the feeders and jump over my squirrel guard and get to the seed. So I opened the sliding glass door and I yelled at him. And he went up the tree. And unfortunately, I mean, I love the squirrels. They're fun to watch. They make me laugh. But unfortunately for him, I saw later my dog started barking at the front, and I thought, oh, I wonder if a package is being delivered, or maybe the neighbors came home, so I like to bark at the neighbors too. But no, instead I went up there, and it's like, oh my God. I called Bev, my wife, over right away. So it's like, you got to see this. We had a red-tailed hawk in our front yard on top of a squirrel. So he caught a squirrel. I don't know if it was the same one I was yelling at earlier, but he caught a squirrel, and he was eating it, but as I was trying to get pictures, he noticed me in the window and flew up into the tree. And it took him about an hour before he got the courage to come back down and realize that I was not a danger. Yeah, so he finally came down, finished the squirrel. All that was left in the evening was just the tail. So it was kind of exciting to see that nature there. But they will go after the birds too. Even though red-tail is mostly a mammal eater, they will go after birds. And you do have other falcons and smaller hawks like Cooper's and sharp-shinned hawks. They're in the accipiter family, and they are ones that are primarily bird eaters. They will go after birds. So that's why it's always good to have some sort of shelter or cover, some place for the birds to get out of danger around your feeders. Otherwise, you're just having a hawk, which, hey, record that too if you see a hawk. But I usually get at least a hawk or two on my counts, but the reason is I am usually not just watching the bird feeders at my house. Usually I do at least one hike during the Great Backyard Bird Count. Now, at the time I'm recording this, I don't have any plans for a hike, but I'm thinking about doing a public hike on the Saturday of the count, which would be the 15th. But I don't have a plan. Check my Facebook page. That'll be listed on there if I do. Check my social media. So if I do decide to do it, if I can free up the time in the morning, I might do a small hike. So check that out. But, well, I'm almost out of the woods here to the road, so I'm going to start getting some car noise. Plus, it's probably driving you nuts, the crunching of the snow under my feet. So I think I'm going to wrap this up for today. Really, I encourage you. The Great Backyard Bird Count. It's a lot of fun. If you don't think you're a good birder, this is a good start. This is a good way to learn your birds. Get Field Guide. They have them online. The website, birdcount.org. Birdcount.org. Don't forget that site. But if you go to birdcount.org, they actually have some field guides and links to identification. And so it's a great way to start out and learn your birds. Have your field guide next to your window while you're watching the bird feeders. That way you can see who's out there. Take the Merlin app with you. Just stop every once in a while. That's not a bird I'm hearing, it's a dog. Yeah, told you I'm getting close to the road now, so getting the neighbor's dogs here. And some car noise. But anyhow, the Merlin app will identify them by call. That actually helped me to learn a lot of my bird calls. So anyhow, get out, enjoy the birding. We're going to wrap things up. I hope you'll join me next week for another great episode. Next week I'm going to be talking about love. Yeah, love is in the air. Valentine's Day was just here. I'm going to talk about how some wildlife will celebrate Valentine's Day, so to say. Yeah, we're getting into the courtship time for a lot of wild animals, including the birds. They're starting to look for mates and scout out where they want to put their nests and all. So if you want to support the podcast, you know the routine. Go to the show notes, click on my Ko-Fi page, and you can support it that way, or buy some Nature Wanderer merch or a nature journal that I designed myself. They're not just an Amazon journal that I am selling. No, these are journals I actually created myself. So you're getting the real deal here. So anyhow, support the podcast in those ways. So have a great week. Hopefully we'll see you next week. And don't forget, the most important thing, get out and explore the nature around you. Have a great day, everyone.
Did you know that plastic is made with oil, a fossil fuel that pollutes the environment? And did you know that only about 15% of all plastic is recycled into new products? Wouldn't it be awesome if we could live our lives without plastic so that we could stop harming the planet? Well, there's a company that wants to help you do just that. Life Without Plastic sells products that will reduce or eliminate your dependence on plastic. They have a large selection from toothbrushes to food storage containers to drinking straws, all plastic free. And it's reasonably priced. So what are you waiting for? Check out all these great plastic-free products and help save the planet. Just click on the link in the show notes to find out more and to start your journey to being plastic-free.